Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
What is up, Headliner Nation? Chris Chow's back again for the Fantasy Headliners. Welcome back, man. I am glad to be here. We got another great episode for you, continuing down the path of off-season material, workbooks specifically, and we got a good one with the Dallas Cowboys, man. America's team. They've been struggling to get past anything in the postseason. Super Bowl quote-unquote favorites every year, apparently, and they just can't get it done. But, a lot of work needs to be done on this roster overall. Jerry Jones and his troops, they've been, moving money forward, which has put them in a very difficult spot this offseason when it comes to their salary cap. But, this roster is full of opportunity that has some holes. But let's dive in and waste no time and check out what the Dallas Cowboys have to do in 2022. So when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, they are always an interesting club to discuss simply because they are always on the top echelons of teams that are expected to go into the Super Bowl or be in that Super Bowl conversation. They haven't won the Super Bowl since 1996? And in the last 25 years, they've only won 3 playoff contests. So you can see this fan base is starving for a winner. And this club definitely has a lot of tools to covet and to make it there to at least contend for a Super Bowl title, man. 12-5 was their record, first in the NFC East, and we know that division in the NFC East isn't overly abundant with talent that is going to, challenge these Cowboys, especially this past season, man. Offensively, they were a dynamo when Dak returned from that leg injury. First, second, points, yards, and pass yards. They did extremely well. The rushing yards still was a top 10 on the backs of Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. They did very well in that regard. The defense did step up. We did see a lot of good from the defense, except for that fact that their passing yards was 20th and their rush yards was 16th. That's a problem, right? So, overall, they were ranked 7th in points because of the fact that they were a very opportunistic unit, man. We know about Diggs. We know about how this team was able to sack the quarterback. 41 team sacks. That's nothing to sneeze at, man. Very good sack production, especially when DeMarcus Lawrence came back. He was a absolute beast on that line. No other way to say it, man. 26 team interceptions is glorious. And I know 11 of that came from Diggs, but this is how it goes. This team was extremely opportunistic on the defensive side, and that offense, it did show times of struggle, unbalanced, but overall in the season, you can't go anywhere to say that it was a faulty season. They did very well. Dak Prescott performed exceptionally well in this offense this season. They did lose in that wild card round to the San Francisco 49ers, 23-17. And that ended the season. The controversy at the end of that game where they were trying to come down and get the snap off, and the Dak handed the ball to the ref, and the time ran out on the clock on them. Everything was just wrong. Lots of opinions based on what this team was and could have done in that contest. But nevertheless, your big dogs this season, Dak Prescott, we know he had a fabulous year, almost 70% completions, almost 4,500 passing yards, 37 TDs to 10 interceptions. He was absolutely dynamic this season. Zeke Elliott, on the other hand, he was playing majority of the year, I want to say injured, because that knee just completely crippled his explosive ability this season. Still 237, got over that 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Yes, it was an extra game this season, which inflated that to get him over that 1,000 yard mark. He didn't look great overall. Tony Pollard also took a lot of carries, 130 touches for him, almost 800 yards, 719 and 2 touchdowns. He did add some work, Tony Pollard did, in that pass game. But when you're talking about this receiving core, it's loaded, man. We know it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Amari Cooper, it's Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson started to creep up. They started to see a lot of production from this entire wide receiver group. We can't get Dalton Schultz from this conversation as well, because he played extremely well. I was a huge Dalton Schultz guy this offseason. If you read my work and look at the work, I was huge on Dalton Schultz, and he definitely repaid us fantasy football-wise. But CeeDee Lamb, to me, 1,100 yards plus, 79 receptions. You got Amari Cooper, he he didn't crack the 1,000 yards this year, but he was a big staple in a lot of these games, and Dalton was your mismatch opportunity. Michael Gallup also did have a good, decent season, but he goes down with an injury. And I mean, on the defensive side, when we're talking about this roster, you gotta love the fact that the Dallas Cowboys, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I am not, so I don't love it very much. But I mean, Micah Parsons, it was the beast, defensive rookie of the year, 13 sacks and 84 tackles. He was an absolute steal in this draft. And I've been saying, how the heck in these last two drafts do NFL teams allow the Cowboys to snag top-end talent where they did? Parsons, what, at 10th or 11th overall last year, and you had CeeDee Lamb at 17 the year before? What is the NFL doing allowing these Cowboys to get this kind of talent this late in the draft? But nevertheless, they got it, man. Like I said, Diggs, he had a fabulous year as well. 52 tackles, 21 pass defenses, and 11 interceptions. So overall, you do see the star potential and star power that this Dallas Cowboys team does have on this roster on both sides of the ball. As of today, we got to say that the offense is still likely the better side of this unit. And when we talk about Coach Mike McCarthy, I've never been a huge supporter, huge fan of his work. He can win you a lot of games in the regular season and then crumbles when it comes to the postseason. How many years did we see the same thing in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, man? Now, again, you're sitting here saying, well, Mike McCarthy, is he going to take you over the top? I really don't think he will. I think he's a good enough coach in season where he's going to, like I said, get you the 11 to 13 wins, be a very good offensive force. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, he did a very good job as well. But overall, man, I am not a Mike McCarthy guy, to say the least. And I really struggle to believe that they're going to get over the top. I mean, a lot of question marks coming into this season when it comes to this roster, but we'll get into that before we dive into the books, man, because we know the Dallas Cowboys, like I said early on, Jerry Jones has been the master, I got to say, of restructuring these contracts and pushing bonus dollars 2 years after. Now it's placed them in a situation where they're having to pay for it, man. Minus $21 million are on the books right now because of all that restructuring. When you restructure contracts, you push bonus money to the following season, which increases your cap hits later on. So this is a big problem that they're going to have to get out from under, especially with a lot of free agents that they do have. Are they of the top end? There are a few big names on this list, man. Keanu Neal, he came over from the Falcons. He was decent, man. He added a different dynamic. They played him in that Swiss Army role, a linebacker safety role, and I mean, I like Keanu Neal, but at $3 million to $4 million bucks, we'll see if they're going to bring him back, because the next man, Leighton Vander Esch, at 26 years of age, he needs a new contract. And I mean, the neck injury, he has seen some time on the sidelines due to that injury, but I mean, he's been very good for this Dallas Cowboys team. What do you think he's going to get paid? I was a little bit, easy on this price tag, saying $4 to $6 million, but it's likely in the direction of a $7 to $8 million stretch that you're going to see Vander Esch try to covet on the open market, especially with the fact that his career might be cut short, if he takes any more serious hits to that neck, and it could be a problem. But I mean, I gotta say, when it comes to Neal and Vander Esch, you gotta think that Vander Esch is probably the priority over Neal, unless they can get Neal on a discount deal. But I mean, the way Neal did play, I think he's going to be looking and playing for another club next year. Michael Gallup, 25 years old, and I mean, the way the wide receiver position is also capitalizing on wealth potential. Gallup's average market value right now per season hovers around the $10 million to $12 million mark. However, the caveat is that Gallup did tore his ACL late last season, which may preclude a lot of teams from ponying up the dough. And Dallas might be the only fixture. He signs another one-year deal, rehabs, and then maybe comes back late as the 2022 season starts to close out. I think that could be the way that it's looking. Dallas has already said they're trying to prioritize every situation that they can bring Michael Gallup back to the Dallas Cowboys. Dalton Schultz finds himself as a unrestricted free agent, and after that fabulous season, he had 25 years old. He is going to be a hot commodity on the open market. I really wonder if Dallas is going to pony up and pay his services. I really question it, because I think Dalton is a very good talent. He has shown that he can block. He has shown that he is very reliable, capable, especially in the red zone. He can make a lot of plays for you. $11 to $13 million is kind of where you're seeing that Dalton Schultz money head, man. Cedric Wilson, he started coming on as the season wore on when Gallup went down, and he's going to cover around $6 million bucks, $5 to $6 million, I could say. I mean, his price tag definitely would go up. He did show a lot of good poise and class as a fill-in, and he was making plays, especially when the defensive core on the opposition was locking down Lamb and Cooper. I mean, Cedric Wilson was a firm target. I don't want to say a favorite target, but he was a firm target of Dak Prescott as they move forward, man. Connor Williams, the offensive lineman, left guard, $10 to $13 million. And I mean, this O-line didn't play great, but they did have a lot of injuries this past season, which did preclude them from being top end. We've always thought of Dallas's offensive line of being a top end unit, right? This year, we can kind of say, meh, was it as good? Not really. But I mean, Connor Williams is a good one, still very youthful at 24 years of age. $10 to $13 million is a hefty price tag, man. Kazee, he is 28, the safety. I mean, $1.52 million it's a safe bet. I mean, Randy Gregory, 29 years old. This is probably likely one of his last opportunities to get that big bag in payday. And I mean, he could potentially get anywhere from 10 to 13 million bucks on the open market if he can keep his, out of trouble, I guess is the kind of the thing we could say. But Dallas has been one of the teams that has, stuck by him in trust and said, we continue to give you chances. Maybe he gives them a little bit of a hometown discount to return and hope that they can do things. I got Malik Hooker on this list. Yes, he did sign this past offseason, but I still like his skill set. I think he's 25 years old. He hasn't fit the bill from where his draft capital was where he was selected, but I still think there's room to grow. He could be a late bloomer, and as he gets into his, mid-20s to early 30s, I think you could see him round out his game, but he's on a cheap deal. I could definitely see the Cowboys bring him back. And Jaron Kearse, man, he was the leading tackler, man, for the Dallas Cowboys, and you wonder why, because, I mean, they gave up a lot of big plays. He was the last line of defense, so he was the last one making tackles. 101 tackles for this man. You can't say anything about it. $1 million to $1.5 is not a bad deal whatsoever. Like I said, Gallup, the torn ACL, and I mean, depth chart wide receivers, the Cowboys just seem to be able to draft wideouts at this point. You got Malik Turner, he's okay. I'm not a huge big fan. He was a free agent sign, I believe, but Noah Brown is also there, and I mean, he's okay. I'm not overly crazy about these two individuals, but they do got depth at the wide receiver position if they want to let go of Cedric Wilson, but Michael Gallup clearly would likely be on the return, man. When it comes to how these Cowboys get out of this trouble, I went into the books hard on this one because $21 million just to get even is tough in itself, but I mean, the Cowboys and the way that they've restructured not only these contracts, but the way that they have set up these contracts, there is outs all over the place. And I'm telling you right now, I can save this team right now $63.3 million based on how we can talk this out. So right off the bat, Dallas's potential cap cuts or trades is Amari Cooper. I would not be shocked if they're going to be flirting this out there to trade Amari Cooper because $20 million could be saved off the books just from his mammoth salary with only $2 million to dead. That is music to a general manager's ears, and they could definitely do that. Anthony Brown, defensive back, $5.5 million could also be saved. I mean, I get it, okay? Anthony Brown was one of your starting corners on this defense with Diggs, and I mean, but I think there's room to upgrade. I'm not a huge Brown fan. He is serviceable, but is he worth big money? No. That's why the $5.5 million you could easily get out from under with 1.5 dead and save that money. Blake Jarwin, he is another one as well. He has dealt with a mass amount of injuries, so even if you don't sign Dalton Schultz, yes, you will be limited at the tight end position. Yes, that's a big problem for Dak Prescott. He definitely relied on that position, and I just don't like Blake Jarwin's game whatsoever right now, man. So $4.8 million with $1 million dead, I think is a very good savings that you could have for Blake Jarwin, man. Money tied up all over the place for these Dallas Cowboys, but this is where the restructure part comes into play, where we find extra dollars. Dak Prescott, his money's not moving anywhere. He just signed that deal, $34 million, 77 dead. I mean, his contract is still, the ink is still drying on that contract, so he is not going anywhere. They're not going to try to restructure. Zeke Elliott, on the other hand, you could do some restructuring. His contract at this point looks horrid, and I mean, $18.2 million with $30 million dead. You're talking Zeke's cap hit, 18.2 post June 1st. So you could find ways to maneuver post June 1st to try to get the money off the books. DeMarcus Lawrence, another one, man, $27 million with only $8 million dead. You push some of that cap hit to bonus money, and you can definitely find room on his contract. Zach Martin, a very similar trait, $20 million, only $3 million dead, or $8.3 million dead, I should say, and you could absolutely restructure and maneuver more money to bonus. Same goes for Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins, man, $17.5 and $15.2 million respectively. You could easily move that money. So, based on the restructure between Martin, Smith, Collins contracts, you could equate that to about $25 to $35 million of extra space. And I mean, restructure Zeke's contract can happen, but it's going to make it harder to cut him next season or trade him from his services if you do push more money back, because then that debt is going to be a lot harder to get out from under for Zeke Elliott. But I would not be surprised if they do that this offseason as well. When it comes to the NFL draft, we know the Dallas Cowboys have done very well, like I said, these past seasons in getting a superstar talent to come in their on their roster, on their squad, man. This year they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, one comp pick in round 5, and your needs right off the bat, man. Linebacker, defensive line, edge, safety, DB, O-line. That's kind of where I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys at this point. Is it going to be, out of the question that they go and pick best available player again? No, because it appears to be working, man. Micah Parsons is one major example. CeeDee Lamb, one major example. Did they need CeeDee Lamb at that point the season prior in that draft? They did not. They had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, but he was the best player on the board. Why would you let a player like that get out of your grasp if they did not? Excuse me, but I mean, pick 24, you got linebacker, DT, and DB, and I could definitely see defensive back being the pick here, even though that is the need. So it depends on, if a Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd is on the board, they're definitely going to do that, especially if they don't sign Leighton Vander Esch back to this roster. That's why I got linebacker as number 1. I'm still waiting to see if they're going to sign Vander Esch. If they do, then linebacker gets removed from this round completely. It's going to be defensive tackle or defensive back, and for me, when you're picking at 24, there is a lot of talent at the defensive back position that you could get. McCreary is one of these guys from Auburn that you could easily see fall to pick 24. Nakobe Dean, I've seen mock drafts going into the 20s. I just don't see him falling that low. But I mean, if he does, and you're not signing Vander Esch, then you got a very big opportunity to snag up a great linebacker. But I mean, everything coming for scouting reports for these incoming rookies. Go subscribe to Headliner U. Yours truly will be breaking down all the rookies coming into this class to get you guys in the know, not only for your favorite team, but for fantasy football in general, man. So, players under contract, we know the list. I'm just going to round it off again. You got Dak, you got Zeke, you got Pollard, Cooper, and Lamb kind of rounded out. I'm leaving Jarwin off because I'm not a huge fan, and I think they could do a lot better on the open market. I'd even be, better to see O.J. Howard come to the Dallas Cowboys if you let Dalton Schultz walk out the door. The defense, man, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Diggs, Brown, Lewis, that kind of rounds out who you have right now under contract. And like I said, Brown and Lewis are serviceable defensive backs, but I would definitely look to upgrade. Lewis, I think, is a better product, that he plays in the nickel position. He can make a lot of plays. I think both these individuals, Brown and Lewis, both had 3 picks this past season. So, I mean, with Diggs doing what he does, teams were definitely targeting the other side of the field. Notable players I want to say at the wide receiver position, you got Semi Fehoko and you got TJ Vasher, okay? These two guys were rookies coming out of this past draft. Fehoko got a lot of praise for his speed and his ability to make plays. TJ Vasher is one of those guys that goes under the radar. He is a big body wide receiver that the Dallas Cowboys, don't typically have at this point, but if he can round out his entire game, Vasher is one of these guys that I cannot hate, and Semi Fehoko, he's got wheels for days. So even if you do let a guy like Amari Cooper out the door via trade or release, I mean, you have options. It's not going to be the same talent as an Amari Cooper, but you do got options if you want to develop them, and the way that the Cowboys have been developing their players of late, I mean, you can't hate it whatsoever. So there you have it, man. That is the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. What are they going to do this season? There you go, man. About $60 to $70 million we can get on the books, so that way they can at least sign who they want to sign from their current free agent list and be active players on the open market. And I truly believe the way that Dallas, especially Jerry Jones, is craving a winner. Give it to the fans that you want a Super Bowl trophy back in Big D. I truly believe that they're going to make all these maneuvering moves to get more cap space and get more players to come and help this club get over the top, especially on that defensive side of the ball, man. But nevertheless, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. I am out.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.